What happens when the prank pranks you back? 5 ordinary houses. 5 doorbells that shouldn't have been rung. Tonight, you'll hear the true stories of a Victorian mansion where the door opens by itself, a girl in yellow who appears on doorbell cams across town, footsteps and static voices calling from disconnected phones, and worst of all, something that's learning to play our game. Ring the bell, run, but pray you're faster than what answers.
The Man Who Rings Twice. The Victorian house on Hemlock Street had stood empty for as long as anyone could remember. Its peeling paint and sagging porch made it the perfect target for our stupid back-to-school tradition. Every September, someone would dare the freshmen to ding-dong ditch the haunted house. The rules were simple. Ring the bell, run before the door opened, and don't get caught. In all the years of the tradition, no one had ever been caught, because no one had ever answered Dot until last night. There were 4 of us, Jake, Marissa, Tyler, and me. We approached the house just after 11 p.m., the moon casting long shadows from the house's turrets that made the entire structure look hunched over, like it was waiting for us. The air smelled like wet leaves and something faintly metallic. I pressed the doorbell, the chime echoing through the silent neighborhood far louder than it should have been. Before the sound even finished, we were already running, our laughter cutting through the crisp night air. We made it to the sidewalk when Marissa suddenly stopped. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. We all turned back. The front door was open. Not just cracked, fully open, and standing in the doorway was a tall figure, silhouetted against the dim light from inside. It wasn't moving, wasn't calling out, just Dot, standing there, watching. We ran the rest of the way to Jake's house without looking back. The next day at school, we convinced ourselves we'd imagined it. Maybe the door had always been open. Maybe the figure was just a trick of the light. That's why we went back the following night. Because teenagers are nothing if not stupidly brave in the face of the unknown. This time we were more cautious. We approached slowly, our footsteps crunching lightly on the dead leaves covering the walkway. The door was closed now. Tyler reached out to ring the bell, but before his finger could touch it, the door swung open on its own. The man in the doorway was tall, too tall, wearing a suit that looked decades out of fashion. His skin had a waxy, almost plastic quality to it, reflecting the moonlight in a way that made him look more like a mannequin than a person. His smile showed too many teeth, all perfectly straight and white. "Hello," he said, his voice smooth and deep. "You've been ringing my bell." We didn't wait to hear more. We ran faster than we'd ever run before, our hearts pounding in our chests. I could have sworn I heard laughter following us, but when I risked a glance back, the street was empty. The house's door was closed again. That should have been the end of it. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., my doorbell rang twice. I crept to the window, peering through the blinds at the front porch below. No one was there. The motion-activated light hadn't even turned on. But when I checked the security camera footage the next morning, the audio clearly picked up slow, deliberate footsteps walking away from the house after the rings, and a whisper that made my blood run cold. "Your turn to run." The Girl Who Never Left the Porch. The little blue house on Cedar Avenue had been part of our neighborhood's ding-dong ditch tradition for as long as anyone could remember. The story went that a girl named Emily had died on that porch in the early 90s. Some versions said she was hit by a car while waiting for her father to come home. Others claimed she'd been playing hide and seek and somehow got locked in the crawl space beneath the porch. Whatever the truth was, the legend said her ghost still waited there, hoping someone would finally come to play with her. For years, the routine never changed. Kids would ring the bell and run, laughing as they disappeared into the night. The door never opened. No one ever answered Dot until last Halloween. Cody, the new kid in school, decided to up the stakes. Instead of running immediately after ringing, he stayed to take a picture for proof. The flash from his phone illuminated the window beside the door, and that's when we all saw her, a pale face pressed against the glass. A girl in a yellow dress, smiling. We ran, of course, laughed it off the next day, said it must have been a reflection, or maybe Cody had staged the whole thing. But then the sightings started happening at other houses. Doorbell cameras across the neighborhood began capturing footage of a girl in a yellow dress standing on porches in the middle of the night. She never rang the bell, never moved toward the door, just stood there, smiling. The weirdest part? The footage always showed her arriving from the direction of the blue house, no matter how far away it was. And she always left the same way, walking calmly back toward Cedar Avenue. Mrs. Henderson was the first to open her door. The security camera caught the exact moment she peered out, her face going pale as she looked down at something just below the camera's view. She started screaming, backing away so quickly she fell. When her husband reached the door seconds later, there was no one there. Mrs. Henderson hasn't spoken since that night. She just sits by her window, staring toward Cedar Avenue, her hands shaking whenever the streetlights flicker. As for the blue house, the new family that moved in last month says they have a daughter, a quiet girl who likes to play outside in her yellow dress. They say she's made an imaginary friend named Emily. The doorbell camera footage, it started as a joke, a way to get views online. We'd film ourselves ding-dong ditching houses and post the reactions. Most people just looked confused. Some got angry. The house at the end of Porch Street was our favorite target, always dark, lawn overgrown, clearly abandoned. The first few times, nothing unusual happened. We'd ring, run, and laugh as we reviewed the footage later. But on the fourth visit, when we played back the video, we heard something new. As we were running away, the audio picked up a whisper from inside the house. "Come back." The voice sounded exactly like my grandmother's, which was impossible. She'd been dead for 3 years. We deleted the video immediately, told ourselves it was just the wind or our imagination. But the next morning, the video was back in my phone's gallery, and it was longer. The new version showed us returning to the house later that same night. Only ... we never went back. Yet there we were on camera, walking up to the door like we were in a trance. The footage cut out just as my hand reached for the doorbell. Now the videos keep coming. Every morning there's a new one in my cloud storage. Each shows us doing things we never did, going back to that house night after night. The most recent video ended with a close-up of the door opening from the inside, and a voice that wasn't any of ours saying, "You're home." I changed my passwords, got a new phone, but the videos keep appearing, and they're getting longer. The scariest part? Yesterday I found dirt on my shoes, the same red clay that covers the yard of that house on Porch Street. The house that rings back. Before smartphones, before everyone had caller ID, there was a simpler time for prank calls. Every Friday night, my friends and I would pick a random house from the phone book and call their landline. When they answered, we'd shout, "Ding dong ditch," and hang up. Juvenile? Absolutely. Harmless? We thought so until we called the old Miller place. The phone rang exactly 7 times before someone picked up. No greeting, just heavy, wet breathing. Tyler, being Tyler, yelled our usual line and slammed the receiver down. 30 seconds later, my home phone rang. "Maybe it's your mom?" Marissa suggested. But when I picked up, all I heard was that same labored breathing, and then a whisper, "I'm outside." We crowded around my bedroom window, peering down at the street below. The motion-activated light near my driveway flickered. Something stood beneath it, a hunched figure holding what looked like an old rotary phone to its ear. Its free hand pressed against my front door, fingers too long, nails clicking against the wood. Then my doorbell rang. The police found all our phones the next morning. They were lined up neatly on the Miller's front porch, batteries dead, screens cracked. But the weirdest part? The call logs showed that the last call from each phone was to its own number. Now, whenever I pass a payphone, it always seems to start ringing. And sometimes, if I listen closely, I can hear breathing on the other end. The last ding-dong ditch. The rules were simple. Ring the doorbell, run before they answer. Don't get caught. Never do. The same house, twice we broke rule number 4. The Patterson house looked abandoned, boarded windows, overgrown yard. Perfect for our game. The first time we went, Jake rang the bell, and we heard movement inside immediately. Heavy footsteps. The door flew open before we'd taken 3 steps. Nobody there, just darkness. And the smell of wet earth. We should have left it alone. But 2 weeks later, bored and feeling brave, we went back. This time the door was already slightly ajar. The doorbell didn't work, so Tyler pushed the door open and called out, "Hello?" Something called back from the basement, in our voices. Now it's playing with us. Every night at exactly 11:17 p.m., one of our doorbells rings. The security footage never shows anyone there, but if you listen closely to the audio, you can hear 4 sets of footsteps running away at our footsteps. Yesterday, Jake found muddy footprints leading from his doorstep to his bedroom. The same distinctive boot prints we'd left in the Patterson's yard. I think it's learning our game, and I think soon it's going to want to play inside our homes. The doorbell that never rang. The first time I noticed something was wrong, I was home alone watching TV. The doorbell didn't ring. There was no sound at all, but the motion sensor light outside flicked on. When I checked the camera feed, the screen showed only static for exactly 33 seconds. Before cutting back to an empty porch dot, I told myself it was just a glitch. Then it happened again the next night, and the night after that. Each time, the static lasted a little longer. On the 4th night, I saw something in the distortion, a shape moving toward the door. Not walking, sliding. I called the security company. They found nothing wrong with the equipment. Maybe it's interference from power lines, the technician suggested. But when he checked the doorbell's wiring, his face went pale. "This isn't possible," he muttered. The wires weren't connected to anything. They'd been cut clean through years ago. That night, the static lasted a full minute. When the image cleared, there were wet footprints leading up to my door. Not going away, coming inside. Now I keep all the lights on 24/7. The cameras still show nothing but static. But sometimes in the dead of night, I hear the faintest electronic chime coming from the disconnected doorbell. And something is scratching at my bedroom door.